our nightmare Airbnb experience, what we've learned, what we're going to change moving forward. We're going to tell you all about it.
Now, we have been staying in Airbnbs for going on 3 years, short of the time that we are home visiting family. So I think at this point we feel like we've got it down pretty well. And so when we get a really surprised experience like we just had, it kind of catches us off guard.
Yeah, we were caught off guard in many different ways. And we're just gonna go through each thing one at a time and let you know what could happen, even if you think you're doing everything right.
Right. So in this video, we're not just covering things for if you're looking for an Airbnb, right? We're going to be covering as a host what you could be doing and looking for to do differently to make sure your tenants have a really great experience. We're going to be covering everything that as a tenant you need to be looking for when you're searching out that Airbnb, things that you need to be doing to protect yourself. We're also going to be covering the process of what Airbnb does in the case of problems, and maybe some areas they could improve.
Okay, what happened? How did it start? We got there and it all started off great. The host showed up. He was very pleasant. We sat down.
Checked us in early.
Checked us in 5 hours early, which was wonderful. And we took note of that. It was great because otherwise we would have been sitting around in a cafe somewhere with all of our luggage. So we got in early. Everything appeared to be just fine. He went over the internet with us, gave us the password. We talked about restaurants. It was very pleasant. And then he left. So the first thing I noticed right away, about 5 minutes after the gentleman left, was the toilet seat was broken. And, you know, it wasn't off, but you would sit and it would slide.
Yeah.
So we kind of made the decision, you know, just sit down in a normal manner. Don't go sliding in.
Right.
Just be careful. It's not that big of a deal. Well, that might have been our first mistake. Second thing is we discovered that we didn't have any hot water.
Yeah, so the next morning, or actually that day, it was a travel day, we wanted to shower. We went and there's no hot water. I get all ready to take a shower and I go and I look at the breaker board and one of the switches was flipped. And so right away we were like, oh, okay. So we turn it on and then about 30 minutes later, 20 minutes later, we have hot water. I shower, all's great. And then the next day we go to shower and there is no hot water. And so, yeah, so we proceeded to contact the host. The host informed us that he thought that it had been left on too long and that he would call a plumber and the plumber would come out and fix it. That was, I think, later that day that happened.
Yes.
So at this point, he had told us that he had informed us that we were supposed to be flipping the switch off. Now like we said, we've stayed in Airbnbs for a really long time. We know how this works. We've had places before where it had more of a light switch you had to turn on to have hot water.
In the bathroom, not at the breaker box. So he also indicated that he told us several times. Now, one of us would have picked up on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. The plumber had to come and fix the hot water. We have hot water, that's fine. Next thing we noticed was the internet was either not working at all or extremely slow. Now for us, that's very important. That was the one question we did ask him before we booked the accommodation. Do you have internet? How good is it? We were told it's very reliable and very fast. So we had that documented.
Right.
So that was something that we did right.
Yeah.
Now, it goes on from there.
It goes on from there. So there were just a multiple of things wrong with this place. Like we mentioned, there was the toilet seat, right? But then beyond that, we went to cook dinner one night. There was one steak knife that was absolutely dull as could be. I couldn't even cut meat with it whatsoever. I had to use scissors. The drying rack had a couple of the lines were on there. The rest were broken off and falling down. It was just kind of a list of things that kept adding and multiplying upon each other. So then the next day we go and the internet gets fixed. He brought us a new router, and as he had left and probably was still on his way home, we have no water.
We have no water. No, not only no hot water, no cold water.
No water at all.
No water.
Yeah. And so no warning of this whatsoever. He was not really great at responding as far as I would tell him what the problem was, and he'd say, let me look into it. And then I wouldn't hear from him for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and I finally have to check back in. Do you know what's going on? It was a city problem. Fine, whatever. So later that day, we got water. And then the next issue.
The next issue, we went to turn the lamp on in the living room. There's no light bulbs in any of the lamps. Again, it's not a big deal, but we are paying $1,800 a month to live there. We would like to have light bulbs. We'd like to have a toilet seat that's not broken. We'd like to have knives. We'd like to have a clothes dryer rack. We'd love to have internet, hot water, and everything else.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any of those things. They started stacking up. And because he wasn't very responsive on the water issue, we contacted Airbnb with a list of these mistakes or problems. And he was not happy about that.
No, he was not happy at all. He actually had asked if he could come over, and I said, because we did have plans, I said, we have plans right now, it won't work. He showed up anyways. Brian went through the apartment with him. He did then, because at this point we've contacted Airbnb, so then he replaces all these things that need to be replaced.
Got everything fixed.
Yeah, we got everything fixed.
Yep.
Yeah, and then unfortunately the next day, no hot water again. This was really a final straw for us. I actually did contact him. Before I say it was final straw, I contacted him, let him know no hot water. But he informed us at this time he was going to get the plumber out there, which wasn't going to be till the next day at like 4 or 5 o'clock. Yeah. And then we were going to be charged with a bill for that. And that was the end for me. So, I mean, I just was like, we're done.
That was it.
Yeah, so that's when our process with Airbnb started. And we're going to kind of tell you how it wrapped up, and then we'll get into the things to what you need to do to protect yourself.
Why this was all our fault. We'll explain why this was all our fault, and if we had just done some things differently, it may never have happened.
Certain things could be absolutely avoided. Yes. So my contact with Airbnb started, and Airbnb, there are a lot of positives and there are unfortunately a lot of negatives. Now, I contacted Airbnb the first time. I got great response. They're very quick to respond to you. That I do like. Yes. The problem is that I had to contact them over about a 12-hour period of time. I contacted and talked to at least 8 different representatives who all gave me a different spiel of, oh, no problem, we're going to do this for you and whatever. I'm going to get back to you within an hour. I'll get back to you within 20 minutes or whatever it was. And I would never hear back from the same person.
And let me tell you, I'm listening to all this, and Carrie is staying extremely patient. But at this point, she was starting to get a little pointed. Like, I've been through this.
Yes.
We've talked about this.
You get to that point.
And so eventually.
Yeah. So the next morning, so this went overnight, and I was on the phone with Airbnb throughout the middle of the night numerous times. And in the morning,
I want to point out, I was awake and involved.
Yes.
I wasn't just sleeping.
Yeah, he wasn't just sleeping. Yes. He wasn't snoring. And so the next morning, I finally was to frustration point, because at this point we want to get this taken care of before this becomes even a bigger issue of a plumber coming, him trying to bill us, all of this going on. Now, Airbnb, when I finally told them I need to talk to a supervisor, was when things finally got escalated.
Weird.
I know,
that's strange.
Not that I ever got to talk to a supervisor, but they then, I think, just kind of maybe took it more seriously.
Right.
Anyways, at this point, we got the go-ahead to move out. We didn't want to leave prior to getting that go-ahead, because prior to that, you don't have a whole lot of guarantee of receiving your money back. We had gotten our guarantee to get our money back.
Yeah, we got an email saying that we were going to get 30% back on the days that we had stayed.
That's their air cover insurance.
That's their air cover insurance, plus a full refund on the remaining days that we were supposed to be there, which was close to 3 weeks. So we can now move out. We start packing, we start getting things ready. We get a knock on the door. We're not going to answer it.
Well, yeah.
Then the doorbell rings. We're not going to answer it. Another knock. Then he starts texting Carrie on WhatsApp. Answer the door, it's me.
We'll call it aggressive texting, because it was like 3 words, send, 4 words, send. You know, answer the door, it's me. and it was because we had already had this kind of experience with him of him showing up when he wasn't supposed to be coming over. We were trying to get out. At this point, it had only been about a half an hour since we had got the go ahead, and we have to pack all of our stuff, which is all of our life,
our
possessions.
Belongings. Right. There were no heart emojis or smiley face emojis or none of that.
He was being hostile.
Yeah. So I answered the door and he said, "We need to get out. It's past 11 o'clock. It's past the checkout time. You need to leave." And I said, "Yeah, we're packing, guy. We're getting ready as fast as we can." He goes, "No, you need to leave now." And I said, we're leaving. We're getting ready." I closed the door when he was in mid-sentence. He didn't like that so much. More texts started going to Carrie. So I walked downstairs and I said, "Listen, we're getting out as soon as we can. We want to leave, trust me, but we just found out." And he said, "No, you didn't just find out. You're lying. You also broke the toilet seat. It was you that broke the toilet seat." So long story short, we leave. We pack up, we're out maybe 15 minutes later. But before we just walk out, I asked him to come upstairs and walk through the place with me because I don't trust the guy at this point. I don't want any accusations made because he's already called me a liar. He declined that offer and told me that the owner will be taking up legal action against Carrie and I.
For what I don't know.
For what we don't know.
Yeah.
And I just said, "Cool." I said, "Cool, man."
Yeah.
Cool.
So, so that's kind of the whole...
That's the story there.
Pretty much, there were some other kind of aggressive texts after that, and then we blocked him.
Yep.
And so that was our situation. It was very uncomfortable. At this point, we were now homeless, and we had to find another place. I mean, we literally didn't have another place to go, so we had all of our possessions, including everything from the fridge and freezer.
Yes.
So now we want to share with you, after all of that, what we learned and what we would do differently next time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we're going to do differently next time. Starting with, if you do meet with the host, maybe do a walkthrough with him. Just to double check everything and see if there's anything wrong. You might not notice anything until the next day. Now the next day, you need to take a picture of whatever it is that you think is that's not right, and report that to Airbnb.
Right. There's definitely a process that needs to take place when you're dealing with Airbnb. So with their insurance, that is now the new air cover. It's been going for about a little over a year, maybe. It is great. It does allow a level of protection. It both sides covers the host and the tenant, right? But there are things you have to be sure that you're doing. Now, like Brian said, you want to make sure you're documenting absolutely everything. And this is where we failed. Now, we have just gotten, because we've done this for so long, we've just kind of gotten used to living with some of those things that are annoyances.
We adapt. We just adapt.
Because you get to that point, honestly, we'd already had them come there for the hot water and the internet and things like that, that you kind of get to this point that's like, I don't want to have to be like, "Hey, are you going to be here at this time? We're going to have somebody come in and fix this."
Yeah.
You want to just live your life and enjoy the place that you're in. So some of those things we've let slide in the past, we're not going to let them slide going forward. We are going to take pictures of them right away. We are going to send a list to the host saying, "Here are the things we need fixed while we are here. These are things that we don't necessarily need fixed, but you want to be made aware of for future tenants," just because it protects us.
That protects us. And that's one of the things that I think is the most important. If it's not that big of a deal, fine. In the previous place we were at, the coffee pot did not work. Now it shows a coffee pot in the picture on their page. So we go, "Great, they got a coffee pot." Well, it didn't work. So what good is it to us if it doesn't work? Well, I use it as a pour over for like a month.
Yeah, we had a hot pot.
No big deal.
Worked, yeah.
But I don't want him to think we broke it, right? So that's kind of why you need to, and I did report it to him. I'm thinking he would come with a new coffee pot. He didn't.
He did, but it actually started working while he was standing there, like he hit it.
Yeah,
and it was
he hit the side of it. If you have to hit the side of it to get it to work,
he should have replaced it.
Bring me a new one.
Yeah.
But not a big deal, right? But still, you don't want that accusation later on down the road.
Now, the other thing that I cannot tell you strongly enough to be very sure that you're doing is have all of your communication that has anything to do with the Airbnb to go through the Airbnb website. If you communicate on WhatsApp, which a lot of these hosts like to communicate on WhatsApp.
The first thing they'll tell you to do.
Yeah.
Use WhatsApp.
Use WhatsApp.
There's a reason they tell you to do that.
Right. So there's no documentation then. There's nothing that you can go back on and tell Airbnb that you had this conversation. Now, we do use a WhatsApp on occasion with hosts, but it's all for surface things. It's all for, hey, where's this restaurant that you'd recommend, or things that are in that nature. But as soon as we have a problem, it switches immediately over to the Airbnb platform. So we did do that to protect ourselves, and not long into he was blocked on our WhatsApp because I didn't want him even trying to communicate on there anymore. So that's just one of those elements you definitely need to take
If you have
care
to
of.
block your host from WhatsApp, then there's a problem. Now, what can you do to protect yourself before you even arrive, before you even book your Airbnb? You need to ask diligent questions. You need to make sure the host is responsive to those questions, and you need to do it through the platform, obviously. But the question I'm going to start asking from now on is there construction in the neighborhood around the Airbnb? There was in this one. Now, of course, that's not the host's fault, but it would still be nice to know that there's not jackhammers going on all day long.
Right.
The second thing we're going to start asking is, do we have to flip a switch for hot water?
That's a good
The place
question.
we're at now, you walk over and you lift the handle and you move it over to the left a little bit, wait a couple seconds and hot water starts coming out. That's what I think you need in an Airbnb that's going to cost you $1,800 a month, especially if you're apt to forget to maybe turn that off. Or you want to take a shower right now, you don't want to take one 20 minutes from now. That's a question we're going to start asking.
The other thing that you definitely want to make sure that you're doing is look at those pictures very, very closely. Don't just kind of look gradually at them. I mean, I go way in, I zoom in, I'm looking on the kitchen counters, I'm trying to see what they're showing is available. You're not only looking at that, you're looking at a layout of a place. If you don't look at those pictures really well and get a good feel for the layout, you may see a bed. If you don't see a door to that bedroom, if they don't show all sides of it, you might show up and find yourself in a studio. This happened to us.
Yes.
And so make sure you're digging into those pictures. And then also, like we were saying, ask the host questions. Ask how the Wi-Fi is. We did that part. That was one reason we were fully protected if just the Wi-Fi had been our issue, I could have gone to Airbnb and said the Wi-Fi is not sufficient. This is something I verified with the host prior to even renting. But just ask any of those questions that you might have. How far is the local grocery store? And even if you don't have a question that you can think of to ask that host, come up with a question. The grocery store one would be a perfect example, because you want to test how quick they get back to you. You want to test how helpful they're going to be, and you want to start that communication before you even rent the place.
We are big believers in reading those reviews as well. And what we look for is repeat complaints. I showed up, the place was dirty. That's a big one. If you see that over and over again, you might want to hesitate. The Wi-Fi was bad. You might want to hesitate. Things like that.
Cleanliness.
Some of them, again, they're not that big of a deal, but the ones that keep coming up over and over again, pay attention.
And especially if it's on something that's very important to you, like I said, the cleanliness. You want to make sure that people mention, oh, the place was super clean when we arrived. We for sure want to see comments, or don't see comments about the Wi-Fi. If there's no mention of it, then it's probably fine. The other tip that I would give you to do is, sometimes a host may only have a few reviews, or maybe they even have like 10, 15 reviews. If you go to that host and you look at their actual listing, so click on their picture, you can see all of their other Airbnb listings if they have any.
Right.
And read reviews on those other listings. Now, you're going to, in general, just see what they're rated on all those other listings. So if they can carry their rating all across their listings, then you can feel a little more confident in that situation. Now, in this situation, I will say, ours was great. He was 5-star. He's a super host.
He's a super host.
So your expectations of that whole super host, we've been burned
Super
on that
jerk.
one. We've been burned on the super host thing numerous times now. Don't put a whole lot of weight in the super host. To get to that standard, I'm not sure what Airbnb does, but I can't say that is something that we will go forward being like, oh, it's a super host, and lay a lot of judgment on that.
Yeah,
but
we've stopped doing that. Yeah.
We did our best diligence with this listing, and we wouldn't have known otherwise of the situation we were going to walk into.
All of this being said, it's still our fault. There are things we should have done.
Yeah,
things we should have done.
We should have done to protect ourselves.
Yes.
Right out
We
the
should have
gate.
gone in as soon as he left, gone through the place. Heaven forbid you should have to look inside the lamp to make sure there's light bulbs. We should have done that. We should have reported the dryer rack immediately, the toilet seat immediately, the knives, and so on and so on. We should have, the oven rack, we had no way to use the oven. There was no pan or oven rack. All of these things, we should have just right away reported them. He might not have been so upset. I don't know. He might have been. But neither here nor there, we would have been protected. We might have gotten everything taken care of in the very beginning and not had another problem.
So now the other area that we want to cover with you is, as a host, what can you do to help not have these problems? Because I'm sure that when you are renting out your place, you don't want to be contacted by the tenants. You just want them to come, arrive, check them in, and have them have a great stay. So what we kind of want to go through, because of through our experience of what we're really excited to see at a place, and maybe a place that we walk into and feel is very equipped, we want to kind of share with you those things that you could do so that it's just great for everybody.
I think one thing they should do is go ahead and live here for a couple weeks and see if it's adequate.
Yeah, and that was something we said to ourselves in this last experience, is we were walking around, and this is prior to us even going, "Oh, I don't want to go and report all of these things," is we just said, if you were living here, would you have a drying rack that you could hang more than 2 articles of clothing on? Of course you would. If you were living here, would you have a knife that you could actually prepare dinner with? I'm not asking for anything fancy. I'm just asking for a knife that cuts things.
Would you like to turn your lamp on?
If there's a picture of a lamp, I would like to be able to use the lamp. The other suggestion I would make is, if you show an item in a picture on your listing, that item needs to be available for the renter. So if you show a coffee pot, or if you show a Keurig machine, or whatever you have, that needs to be there when those people get there. Same with how the place is decorated. We've shown up to so many places, and those pictures, I don't even know when they were taken, but the place looks totally different. It's a new couch, or it's got a blanket over it because it's now dirty, or whatever. But make sure that you have updated photos that are going to give the people exactly what they anticipate.
Yeah, and make sure that if Brian and Carrie are to rent an Airbnb from you, you've got a refrigerator stocked full of a few beers, some local beers.
That's just a bonus.
From maybe some local breweries. That would be something that I would do if I was a host.
The other thing that we found would be really helpful is that instead of just, I think we've heard from numerous Airbnb hosts, is that they somewhat rely on the tenants to let them know of the problems. I somewhat can kind of get that for certain elements, but when we show up to a place and there's so many problems with it, that's not on us to have to correct. So it should be the responsibility of the host to walk through with a checklist and just check things out. Is everything in working order? Do the lamps have light bulbs? And go through the kitchen and make sure things haven't been broken. We've shown up to places where there's one coffee cup. Go through and check and make sure that everything is there and in working order.
Yeah, and that's something that we just kind of came up with in this last experience. We learned a lot on this last experience. Is this host said, how is he to know if the tenants don't tell him? And I go, we are telling you, and you're mad at us. Well, he was mad at us because we went through Airbnb. Well, that's our protection. But his out would have been to spend a little time in the unit, check through it, and look over things before he just hands the key over. Because I think that's what this guy was doing. He was the key guy.
He was just the key guy and trying to be friendly and stuff, but as far as actually making sure everything was equipped and ready, that was lacking. So Airbnb did offer that they would help assist in finding us a new place, but unfortunately with how busy they are, there was quite a delay in that process, so I kind of had to take things into my own hands. I contacted the host of where we are staying now, asked her if she would give us a discount rate for the time that we were staying if we committed to that full amount of time. She did agree to that. She agreed to giving us a 15% off discount, and she was moving out this day. She was actually here with family on vacation, and so she did her due diligence. She was very quick. She had a cleaning lady come in and was ready to go.
I think when we showed up, she said we could show up to drop our luggage off, And so we did that. I think she was helping the cleaning lady get the place ready because it was pretty chaotic. So we left, came back a couple hours later to find this place.
To find it, and things just kind of work out. We were very happy about that. But now what we want to do is, because of the experience we had in the place that we are now, we want to show as tenants, but also as hosts, what we look for in a place when we're coming in here, so that you can kind of see as a tenant's viewpoint what we need to make this feel like home. So now the first thing that we come and we look at when we arrive is the kitchen, because it is one of those kind of just functional places that you would like to have everything in working order. We look for knives, okay? So the last place, like I said, we had a steak knife. This place actually has legit decent knives, and so that is really great. We have a plentiful amount of silverware, which is great. Wine opener, very, very good thing, okay? The other thing that we look for is we are going to look and see, does it have good dishes? This place has great dishes. It also has wine glasses, but plenty of them. Another huge positive. The oven, all of those things. These are just all basics that you're gonna look for when you arrive to a place. Now, another thing that we always love, and this is just a bonus point for a host, if you can provide this, is we like to have an Afghan. Brian likes to call them
Afghans.
Afghans.
A good Afghan.
Okay, but a little blanket, because as a host, I would ask you the question, when you're at home and you're a little chilly, do you put a blanket on you? I would say that maybe if we're lucky, 20% of Airbnbs give you some kind of blanket to put on you when you're on the couch. So that's just a bonus when we get there. If you want to have a thumbs up from your guests, give them an Afghan. Okay, the next thing is comfortable furniture. This place has really comfortable furniture. We've been absolutely loving that. And it's nothing that's really fancy. It just is functional and good quality furniture.
The coffee table's not normally like that.
No, this is filming setup here.
That's our studio.
Yeah. Okay, and then the bedroom. Now, of course, one of the things that everybody always jokes about is they want a comfortable bed. Well, no joke, they do want a comfortable bed. I'm not going to do the sit test for you. It is a very nice, comfortable bed. The other thing I'm going to say is that make sure that for your home, you have sheets that actually fit the bed, because there's not a fitted sheet, and so it has to tuck all the way underneath and come in and not get untucked, we'll say, okay? So Brian can be a restless sleeper, and sometimes it can get all jumbled. The other really big thing is, now this one does have this kind of comforter over the top here. We take that off at night, but we have our own separate comforters, and they don't have to be separate, but make sure that it's a comforter with a duvet cover on it so we can wash the comforter. There's nothing grosser than showing up to a place and you are sleeping with a comforter that who knows how many people have slept with since it's been washed last. And the final thing in the bedroom that is such a key element is please make sure that you provide decent pillows. This is just one of those things that we've arrived at enough places and they are not very nice. So it's not an expensive thing to add that is such a, I don't know, when we lay down at night, it's like, oh, these are so nice. Now the bathroom, lighting. If you don't have like a window, this one has a window in it, so the lighting is great. But if you don't have a window, make sure you have decent lighting in the bathroom and that all the light bulbs that are in here are working. This one is really great. Make sure that you don't just give your tenants one set of towels, give them 2 sets of towels, because as we know, majority of places, if not, we've had one dryer in the 3 years we've been traveling, you have to hang your towels to dry. Well, these are really thick, and so in order to be able to have a dry towel to take a shower again, it's going to take a while. So give a backup set. The other thing, if you're going to have a shower curtain, this was the other issue we had at our last place. If you're going to have a shower curtain, make sure that you check the shower curtain, that the bottom is not all moldy and turning colors. It's not an expensive thing to change out, and then your tenants just feel like they're in a clean environment.
Show them how the hot water works, Carrie.
We have hot water here. Yeah, just one of those little luxuries that we don't take for granted.
Okay, now obviously some of these things are necessities. Some of them are bonuses, but they're all things that you want to look for because it just makes your stay that much better.
Right. So now, with everything that we've learned through this experience, and there will be a lot of things we change going forward, there's another big change that we had quite a long conversation about that we are going to do as well. And that is not commit to a month-long stay places unless we can get that really crazy good discount.
Right. Last month in Rhodes, we stayed in a place that was dark and loud. It just did not suit our needs. But again, we rolled with it.
Yeah.
The host was very friendly, took care of everything we needed him to take care of. But we adapted to some things that we just decided that we don't need to adapt to those things anymore. Back it up this month. We're changing our ways.
Right. So even if it costs you a little bit more, sometimes knowing that you are not committed to a place that is locking you in for a month's stay, I don't know, we just feel like it might make things a little more comfortable going forward. So now we've gone through all of these things. If you would like a checklist that kind of will walk you through from the time you start the booking process or just the searching process, then the booking process, and then the check-in process, checkout process, we have a checklist that you can go ahead and there's a link down below for that in the description. You get that for free, and it will just hopefully help you not forget some of these steps that we told you about.
Right.
And there's some additional things in there as well that we didn't cover today.
Yeah, that checklist is something that we're going to use.
We are going to use it
We're
because
gonna
it's
use
easy
it.
to forget some of
It's
these
easy to
things.
forget some of these things. And it's something we came up with for ourselves that you're going to be included in.
All right, well, we hope that you found this helpful, and listening to our story, what happened, I'm sure that all of you probably have a similar or some other kind of Airbnb story. You can definitely share those in the description below for us, or in the comments below, because we do like to hear it, and I think it does help other people, because it's not just complaining, because we didn't want to come across like we're complaining. We took this 100% as a learning experience going forward, and so your situation as well could help other people go, oh, I didn't think about that.
I didn't
need
think
to
about
do
that. People do read these comments. Now, a comment that I know we're going to get is, where is this Airbnb? What's the link? Who's the host? We're not going to give that information. That'd be bad karma. We're big karma believers. Like this place, we handled ourselves professionally, and look at where we landed. So don't ask for that link to that Airbnb.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will catch you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.